10th of December 2025. I'm your host, the author, David Applegate, author of the books The Boyhood of Cade, Pale Games, Into the Elsebound, and The Erotic Tales from the Empire. I studied this war because I wanted to write better about war. And all I've discovered so far is that people are not interested in the facts. But I will still try to bring you the facts as best as I can. Now, it's weird, I know, that most people claim they want the truth, but no, they want confirmation of their bias. Oh, I just had a bit of a hiccup on my computer. I don't know what happened. Screen went blank for a moment. Alright, I'll try changing the screen again. Here's the truth, right? Facts don't care your feelings. You can hate Putin all you want, but all your hatred doesn't change the battlefield map. Most of there's a common saying, those who scream the loudest do the least. Those who demand sacrifice make no sacrifice. Those who bleat about their achievements really achieved nothing on their own. They always want the center of attention to draw away from the achievements of others. This is why liberals always scream at you. This is why whenever you post, whenever you post something, they always scream at you. They always attack you personally, right? Whether it's racist Africans or lunatic liberals. They just can't accept the facts. Now, you got to remember, these are the same people who called you baby killers in Vietnam. Well, they're now killing babies by the hundreds of thousands in abortion. Every accusation by a liberal is projection. It is a confession. And Ukraine, most people never heard of Ukraine before. They know nothing about the Maidan revolt. They know nothing about the illegal coup. They know nothing about the president that was ousted and the accusations of being a Putin bot, even though he was actually negotiating with Europe. Okay? They don't seem to know what the Zelensky's platform was when he ran on and won the election. They seem to know nothing about the shelling of Donetsk, the Russian ultimatum in 2022, the peace deal in 2022, the Boris Johnson betrayal. See, and of course, most of the liberals I notice are reading The Independent. Just call it the Zelensky Glazer, okay? Just call it British intelligence mouthpiece, because that is not an independent newspaper, okay? It does not bring you both sides of the war. It glorifies Zelensky. It overstates achievements. And it ignores realities on the battlefield. Reality today, Kiev lost power again after a Russian strike on power lines. Now, you notice, people talk about, Ravine hasn't fallen. No, there are multiple towns in Ukraine called Ravine. Now, most of your major towns do not share the same name. Some have the same name as the oblast or state, but that's about it. But most of your major towns do not have the same name, but there's a lot of towns with the same name in each. Sometimes you get more than one in the same oblast. I think that's a deliberate markings on the map, because when you go to Wikipedia about Ukraine, there's no mention a lot of these towns that they claim. Zelensky's claimed to have liberated many towns from the Russians. They don't exist. And the Kiev independence in Ukrainian. And, of course, the Ukrainians apparently, according to YouGov, don't trust Zelensky. Now, liberals suddenly claim to be experts on the Ukrainian constitution. Well, guess what? The Ukrainian constitution's a piece of garbage paper that is not backed by the Ukrainian military, the Ukrainian courts, or the Ukrainian people, nor honoured by the Ukrainian government. The rule of law in Ukraine is Zelensky's law, and the military back Zelensky. That is not liberalism. Yes it is. Every liberal government ends in fascism. It is fascism. Liberalism is baby steps to fascism, and only immature people cannot accept that fact. Why? Because they're weak. They want instant gratification. The weak people are immature, right? They give in to their emotions. They want instant gratification. All they think about is me, myself and I, what they can grab now, and think everybody else is a sucker. And then they cry when you defend yourself because they want to get away with everything. And they realise that if they bleat, all the other bleaters will bleat with them. You have to learn to stop caring what liberals think about you. You have to stop caring what Africans think, what Indians think, even what Russians think, especially what the Ukrainians think, because if they really want to be a part of Europe, they would not be making war. They would be cleaning up their country. They haven't cleaned up their country ever. Europe is degenerating because of the liberalism. Again, liberalism is nothing but instant gratification in a can. Now, Russia has made no significant gains on the battlefield in the north here. But as you see, as we go around the map, there is no Ukrainian counteroffensive marked on the map. So what comeback is Zelensky talking about? Because his own people are not marking any offensives or liberations on the map. Trust me, if there was a liberation, it'd be on this map. Now, there is fighting in this area, but again, it's not all marked. There's been reported fighting in this area as well, and Lyman, again, no advance. Most of this area is now, the temperature is the same as, it is freezing. Literal, the temperature is day and night, that's almost the same. It is freezing. The sky is grey and cloudy. So whenever you see Ukrainian media with all bright sunny day, that's a studio, okay? Because the weather right now in Ukraine sucks. It is freezing. Now, apparently Russia's claimed some advances in Silvesk. They're minor. They're actually here in the north. Very minor indeed. Same with southern Silvesk. Very minor. And apparently Zelensky was talking about a counteroffensive at Chavis Yar today. Nah, ain't happening. If it did, his people forgot to update the map. But there was fighting. There was fighting here at Konsk as well, but nothing happened. Not for the Russians, not for the Ukrainians. Now and again, there's been... now, actually, temperature in this area is about 1 degree warmer. Not much, right? It's like the difference between water frozen and water almost frozen. But, yeah, there was a little bit of activity here, right? Like, I think, again, the Russians got out of one trench, went forward, dug a new trench, but is in like a few seconds of the old trench. They've done this before. They've trench hopped their way forward quite often, with the Ukrainians often caught. Actually, I think it was the Independent today admitted that Russia moved troops in under the cover of fog and surrounded Myriad. Yeah, there was a troop rotation. If the Russians brought in 160,000 troops into Myriad, they would have overrun the Ukrainians. But no, they brought in a troop rotation for the front line. again, the Independent is not in Ukraine. They are reporting information from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense from London. And they're Marxists. Every Marxist, British Marxist in 1965 should have been rounded up, Marxism outlawed, and deported to Russia. Because right now we keep hearing Russia, 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 right? But all these Marxists were Russian agents. Everything, you're all hypocrites. You either stand for something or you stand for nothing. And if you don't defend your beliefs, you're a hypocrite. You're just asking to be annihilated. Now, here, I think the Russians are doing two things here. There's the outward defense and the territorial gain here. They don't seem to be... I know they want to take the town, but they don't see... But there doesn't seem to be any activity reports on Telegram to say they were on the offensive. Now, they were on the offensive here. No, this is one of the few days where there's been no gains. Any significant gains, I should say. No... we'll get to the Russian news, but, the Ukrainians today got hit by more drones, more artillery. The Russians hit Odessa in retaliation for a piracy. Ukraine in the Black Sea seized a Russian ship, apparently, allegedly. That's neither confirmed or denied. Actually, nobody knows who the ship owner is, apparently. Again, that's speculation. Media probably just didn't want to pay the registry fee to find out. Just because if they did, then they don't want to contradict the Ukrainians. Why? Well, it's called the access media, right? They obey the establishment to get access to the establishment. You do not get invited to the cocktail parties in capital cities unless you are an obedient tool of the establishment. You think Tucker Carlson's independent? No. A couple of guys in the UK exposed him as an establishment tool of the CIA. That he is doing Qatar's bidding. Well, he's actually... highest bidder, and apparently has been for some time. So, Ukraine admits clashes with Russian forces near Kodsk, etc., and other areas. Now, southern Slobodansk and others, again, multiple clashes. There aren't that many, are there? A lot of these are the same areas over and over again. This is, again, here we have a rare photo that actually is not censored. Somebody must have taken the day off. Drone strike caused by fire in Odessa. You can see it's a container. It is actually censored. I'm sorry. They digitized it, but a container port. You can see the outlines of containers there in the on fire. This is the waterfront. So, it is what it is. Odessa, now there has been a social uprising in Ukraine where people who are sick of the Ukrainian war or don't want to have been targeting officials for assassination. Now, of course, they've been declared Russian agents. SBU claimed yesterday to have killed some Ukrainian infiltrators that were working for Russia. No, there is a lashing out. It's called revenge against society. We see these attacks in China, these attacks in India. Actually, in India recently, there were a big mob of women that attacked a man, falsely accused, by the way, but it didn't matter to them. You know, there's rampant degeneration of civilization around the world is occurring in real time because people are emotional. Emotional people lash out. They become uncivilized, irrational. They are selfish. They only think about what they can take off others, and they don't care the harm they do to others or society. You don't need to import 1 million Indians into the UK to have curried sausages, okay? Once upon a time, you only need to import the curry powder. People are so freaking selfish, so lazy. So lazy. Now, the point of these videos is to give you enough information for you to make up your own mind. If I give you too much information, or I give you too much opinion, you're not going to you're going to have resentment. You want to formulate your own opinion on Zelensky. Now, he claims Ukraine is ready for elections if US allies ensure security. This is the very thing France did to America, Truman to be specific, in Vietnam. Give us security guarantees and we will join NATO. This is exactly the same thing. And look at the mess the French got us into. Look at the mess that the liberal establishment got us into. Look at the mess that the commie cowards got us into. The commie cowards pushed us into war in Vietnam, and then they protested saying that, no, you do not send us to war, you do the warring, and then we protest against you, and then we all laugh about it and say, you fell for it, it's your fault, ha ha ha. And then when you defend yourself, they all say, arrest him. This is such a society of cowards who won't stand up to a single coward. He does not sacrifice anything. He gets a wage of $384,000. He has no incentive to end the war because he will not die from fighting. He will not be executed for failure. He won't even be forced into exile. He is backed by the liberal establishment in Europe. No, this man is forcing you into war by... He's abusing the fact that Russia will not commit to a full-on attack on Ukraine because it will trigger a wider war. But he wants to trigger a wider war because he is a weak coward. But as we see, he is aging. He is degenerating. All degenerates, okay? They age rapidly. Look at the TikTokers. Next time you get hit on Facebook or social media with one of these thoughts, look at them. Right? They're all hiding behind avatars. I'm an old man. I don't know, but my face is on my avatar. Just because it's inside a Thanos suit on Facebook, still my face, my real face, not hidden by makeup or these what do they call it, avatars. Actually, an amazing Bruce Willis science fiction movie, very underrated, predicted that society would hide behind fake avatars. And the breakdown of human contact because of social media. But Donald Trump suggested that he's using the war as an excuse to avoid elections, and he's right. Zelensky claims the wartime elections are forbidden under Ukrainian law. How convenient. Because they added that to their constitution, by the way. Not Zelensky, but they added that. They've been planning war in Ukraine for quite some time. Remember, they spent 10 years. Yep, Zelensky being a dictator? Absolutely. But they say, Vladimir Putin said it. Vladimir Putin drank water. Oh, Trump drank water. Adolf Hitler had a dog. Trump doesn't have a dog. Biden did. Yeah, this tangential accusation, what is it? Accuse them of everything you're doing, right? Make sure that every day you express 2 minutes of hate, Every day. There's nothing Zelensky can say that will convince me he is a good person. But it's up to you. But most people think he's a grifter begging you to go to war for him. And that he can end the war and hold an election. There is fighting on the outskirts of Pavlovsk, but according to the military commander, Ukraine did evacuate. And they're holding on the outskirts. Ukraine's gas and oil company was hit again. Yeah, not a free country, state-owned gas and oil. That's not a free country. A member of the UK's armed forces was killed today. Allegedly, he was testing a new defence capability. I told you it's a weapons test. Oh, again, this is what they did in Vietnam. Remember, first they sent in observers, got a few killed. Then they sent in advisors, got a few more killed. Then they sent in a lot of advisors, got them all killed, and said, we got to go to war now. And then JFK, you worship JFK, but he's the one who got you into the Vietnam War. And then 4 years later, he protested against it. Why? Because he was losing. The liberals do not have morals. All right? They have positions. And their positions are negotiable. Now, Ukraine and its European partners, owners, want to provide the US with a counter-proposal to end the war with Russia, according to Zelensky. In other words, particularly Finland wants a 20-point peace plan, guarantees post-war reconstruction, all the usual garbage. Basically, Europe and Zelensky want to reach their hands into the American pocket, take as much as they can, and then have you do all the fighting, do all the paying of the bills, do all the heavy lifting, then they take all the credit, but anything goes wrong, they put all the blame onto you. Typical liberal coward. All these keyboard warriors who keep saying, we must kill Putin, we must fight in Ukraine to the last man. None of them are the last man, none of them are in Europe. Again, Pope liar, the false Pope, once again, takes a position of war, talking about a just peace, echoing Zelensky's just peace, the liberation of Ukraine. Well, fuck Ukraine, okay? They were murdering their citizens. What about the Kosovo? You went into Kosovo and took that off Serbia, okay? The breakup of... Yeah? You have no morals. If you believe that you can go into Kosovo, give it to migrants, okay? You have Somalis now claiming that Minnesota's now Somaliland. What are you going to do about that? Nothing, okay? Gaza, they claim Israel. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. Okay? You let the Gazans, you let everybody protest against you, and then you say, we're so, it's just so that we can show how stunning and brave we are. Absolute freedom, comrades. No. It shows you're cowards. You can't stand up to on principles. Time and time again, right? Zelensky's met with European leaders, and now he's trying to use religion. Where's the left and their glorious separation of church and state? All of a sudden, zip. Again, liberal hypocrisy. Trump team has been, of course, the Ukrainians engaging in hate, trying to pressure Donald Trump by saying that he's pressuring the Ukraine and accepting a deal that glazes Putin. Well, at the same time, they're, again, unnamed officials. Yeah, liars and leakers. But then again, Zelensky's the one coming to you begging, right? Beggars can't be choosers. Yet here he is thinking that he's in command. Let him fight. Put him on the front line. Do you imagine him in the ring with Putin? Donald Tusk. Remember when Donald Tusk was going to stand up to Europe? Remember when Donald Tusk was going to stand for Poland? Here he is being a glazer for Ukraine, licking Zelensky's balls and giving him hundreds of millions of dollars in fighter jets. You think any of these are going to come back home? There's no morality. Okay, Europe is fascist, a fascist state. Warning, the following may contain information you don't like. Russia claims that it wants a sustainable peace in Ukraine over a ceasefire. Ceasefire agreement. Dmitry Peskov stressed it should be accompanied by signing documents. An energy truce. Working on peace. They did have an energy truce before, but Ukraine broke it when they attacked Kursk. Remember, there's a nuclear plant in Kursk. They were hoping to use the prevailing winds to radiate Moscow. But nobody wants to listen to that. People tune out. Time and time again. The vast majority tune out. Okay, the establishment crushes your ambitions time and time again. You ask people, you try to explain to people, they don't care. They just move on to whatever's thrown in front of them. The paid opposition, the clowns and the buffoons who keep you in bread and circus, while the real truth is buried time and time again because the people who listen to the truth don't want to share it. But the fact is, Trump has increased the sanctions on Russia, and Trump is the one who's pressuring Russia to end this war. So why can't he pressure Zelensky? Oh, because Zelensky is the Zelensky. I must get my way. I'm the Zelensky. You know, I can't wait for Zelensky to be 6 foot under. It'll be glorious watching all these liberals cry over their George Floyd 2.0. But see, here we have, okay, we actually have denials from Zelensky clinging to power, that Trump, we have pretty much almost exact word for word from other news sources reported in Russia. But again, what they're doing is reporting on the media's reaction, right? Now, they're pointing out that Valery Zelensky, Zelensky's potential rival, former commander, was polling ahead of Zelensky, while a general, now serving as the Ukrainian ambassador to the UK, has dismissed rumours of political ambitions. But media reports in Ukraine did report that he was laying the groundwork for an electoral campaign. This is why Zelensky won't hold one. Okay, because if he stops the war, says, okay, you want a peace deal or not, we have to stop the war to have a vote, because we can't have a war, but we can't have a war and a vote election, apparently, because it's illegal, comrades, it's illegal, says Zelensky. Really? What about term limits? Now, see, this is the problem. They created laws so that they can manipulate the public by saying we can't have a. So this is why they have a war. So he can't step down because he says, "Oh, my term's up." How convenient! But remember, he ran on peace, not on war, on peace. I'm all for politicians being beheaded for their lies. You know, that used to be law in ancient Athens, right? But then the liberal establishment started losing too many people, so they got rid of their own laws. You know, just like the self-defense law. As soon as too many of their black voters started ending up 6 foot under, they created this. Again, it's both parties are to blame, right? Both parties exploit anything to get ahead, right? They don't have any morality. And unfortunately, people who are principled or morals have to deal with the fact that the majority of the population have no principles or morality, And it's a sad reality. The world is rotten. That's what Revelations is. It's revealing how rotten humanity is. How surface level, how superficial our ideals are. That we don't hold to them, we don't defend them. You claim to defend free speech, but the moment someone says the N-word, you walk away. Or as soon as a black man tells a lie, you walk away. You don't uphold the 10 commandments. All right? Someone lies. Do you confront the lie? No. You say, but free speech. And then, then you say, but Hitler, we have to stop Hitler. Well, actually, one of the few things is according to John Toland, didn't lie. Okay? Didn't tell you everything, but he didn't lie. What he did tell you was not a lie. He actually told everybody what he was going to do. Germany knew it was preparing for a war, but Germany kept hearing and seeing headlines from the New York Times and the Washington Post saying how the Jewish establishment, attacking German interests worldwide, calling for a war on Germany. Again, we're seeing the same thing now. And in 20 years' time, what are they going to do? They're going to always try to blame Russia. The winner always tries to justify their war. But now they're not the winners. And they're panicking because they don't know what to do. Because they expected Russia to capitulate. They expected Europe to threaten Russia and that sanctions on Russia. They expected capitulation. They didn't expect ISIS to turn around against come on, let's admit it. ISIS was a creation of Obama, okay? Now they don't know what to do in Syria. They don't know what to do with Pakistan and India. All these artificial creations by the breakup of big states and big countries by the establishment isn't working. Though China is on the verge of tearing itself apart. India is on the verge of tearing itself apart. And I think India would be in a civil war right now if it wasn't for the fact they have so many problems with Pakistan. But for Russia has far more unity than Europe. Okay, Europe is on the verge of collapse. Russia is not. And that is why the liberal establishment is so desperate to silence me. It's why you don't see my videos recommended. That's why I have to pretty much point at my videos and people go, you make videos? When did this happen? This is such a issue in the world. The control of information. Remember, liberals would not win elections if they didn't control the media. If they didn't control the vote. Now, of course, they give you the illusion of democracy by now and again letting the Republicans win. But in 2020, they went too far. They got exposed. People started taking action. And then the next election, they got trumped by the majority doing what they rarely do. Vote. See, in America, George Bush. I think George Bush was the lowest, 32%. I think Clinton was only 34% of the election. I think New York, Mondami only got 33% of the vote. Most of the people didn't vote. Most votes don't make it to the count. We saw this in Florida when Broward County, when they tried to rig the election for Hillary. This is a big problem in America, but it's not an American-only problem. You're always accusing Russia of doing it. But when Russia asked the EU to observe the elections in Ukraine, Europe wouldn't do it. Because the liberal establishment knows. They're the ones rigging the election. It's the liberal establishment. That's why they bring in all these people of colour, because they can just promise them anything and they'll vote for it. But what they don't talk about is the outflow. You know, most migrants don't stay, right? Except maybe in America right now. But most countries, migrants don't stay. Right now, China's seeing a big flow of all the outflow of Africans. A lot of Chinese are being attacked and kicked out of Africa. Isn't it amazing? Africans can kick out Chinese, but we can kick out neither Chinese nor Africans. That's the hypocrisy of the world we live in, folks. Diversity is only for white people. What's my point? Someone asked. I said, to inform you. It's up to you what you do with the information. I'm not leading you. If you want me to lead, you have to elevate me. And because you don't elevate me, I don't want to lead. I want to inform. Okay? I'd rather write books than be a politician. I only make videos partly to help and try and overcome a speech impediment, because in part a speech impediment, also when I write, I make lots of mistakes. I'm disorganized. I do have a dysfunctional mind. I have problems, and people seem to be very intolerant. Nobody cares about anything anymore. Not craftsmanship, not honesty. Politicians have no integrity. There's no repercussions, right? We keep hearing promises of arrests and they don't come. People are getting upset. But right now, they also realize that why get rid of Trump when the establishment, that's exactly what the establishment wants. Everybody knows the establishment's standing in the way of arrests. Everybody knows the courts have stood in the way. If you wanted the Epstein documents so bad, why didn't you ask Biden? Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene had no answer for that, nor did any of the other pathetic exploiters of misery and tragedy. Right now, the world is in a miserable place because those who have the power to do something rather sit in the sidelines and bleat like sheep. Russia, Russia, Russia. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and please support the channel. Support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, description below, in my profile, or scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. See you in the next video, and bye for now.